find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
Welcome into the Gibson Fantasy Football Podcast. Woo-hoo! Joined, of course, by my man AA Ron. It's Thursday, but it's Friday.
It is, and here in Canada.
That's right. It's Canada Day tomorrow, so us Canadian folk are gearing up for a stat day. I reckon the stat day will probably occur on Monday for the July 4th folks. Or I guess, Monday would be what, the 3rd, right?
No,
So maybe.
No, it'd be the 4th.
No, Monday. The 4th, yeah. So it would be Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, everybody's rocking a long weekend here.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love the long weekends.
And nothing pairs better with a long weekend than football.
Yeah. Especially Labor Day long weekend.
Right?
That's Labor Day long weekends usually the start.
Oh, if only. We'll be there soon. We are on the precipice of July. So by the time midnight strikes, it'll be July, and that means that August is preseason. So we're literally, a month away from preseason, 2 months from football. It's coming.
Oh, it is.
So if you're looking to find out more about what we're up to, find us on the website, GibsonFantasyFootball.com, Twitter, Gibson_FF, Instagram, YouTube, and Podbean, as well as, I got to add this in, Spotify. We are now available on there as well. So the audio version is there along with the on Podbean. So you can find us in many places to listen. We will provide you with pleasure for your ears. But today we are back. We rocked the AFC and NFC East last week in what was a fun-filled episode of tons of battles from kind of all positions except quarterback. We covered everything else. And today we'll hit on quarterback, but not nearly as many battles in these divisions. These teams seem a little more set in their depth charts. Nonetheless, we're going to take care of the AFC and NFC North. So we'll start with the AFC side, and we'll start as we did last week with the division winner, and ironically, also coincidentally rather, the Super Bowl runner-up.
Yep.
Cincinnati Bengals.
No trophy for that.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Don't you get something for winning the conference? Isn't there some sort of a thing?
Yeah, but I think there's that superstition, like don't touch the trophy, or some guys do. I think Brady's touched it a bunch of times.
Yeah, right. I thought that was mostly hockey, but I guess it is football too. You're right.
Yeah, just about every sport now is kind of superstitious about that. So
don't wash your underwear, don't touch the trophy, don't shave your beard. It's really just a way not to do anything.
I've got 2 of those 3 things going already. The beard and the underwear's been pretty steady.
Thank God we're doing this through remote setting then.
Yeah.
So, the Bengals are pretty set, and, they could get back there again. I don't think they will. There's just so many good teams in the AFC East that they'd have to go through. I'll take the Bills if I'm going to take anybody. But, Burrow's there. Yeah, wide receiver core, that trio is still there with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. And they got their new tight end, Hayden Hurst. So, I don't love Hayden Hurst, but he's the 4th option, maybe even 5th option behind running back Joe Mixon. So probably not going to be too much value. He'll just catch a couple of touchdowns here and there. But behind Joe Mixon is the interesting battle between Samaje Perine and Chris Evans. So last year, it was important who was the RB2 in this offense because they did pull Joe Mixon off the field quite a bit for 3rd down, for passing down. And he also, missed some time. And so that provides an opportunity in a very powerful offense. So what are our thoughts here on Samaje Perine versus Chris Evans? What have you come to think?
Well, I think Perine's got at least a little bit more experience, so I think he'll have the edge going into camp for sure. But Evans can maybe, young guy, 24 years of age, second year in the NFL, I believe.
So, yeah.
He's got a good shot at stepping it up in the camp. So I like Piron. Also, if he does get in that second position, he's not a bad guy to kind of look forward to replace, that flex spot or you got some bye weeks and stuff. He could be that guy because, like you said, Joe Mixon got sat for some plays there. So I think not a bad pickup. I think overall, though, the biggest question about the Bengals is going to be their defense. I know that not much of a fantasy thing, but I still think that that's going to be their biggest challenge throughout the year.
Yeah, I think defense, and I'd also throw out offensive line, which they've made some improvements to. So on paper, it looks pretty good now. But Joe Burrow got just absolutely decimated last year. I mean, there's that game against Tennessee. He had 7 sacks or 8 sacks.
It was
insanity. Like, he won't make it through the season healthy. He already got hurt once in his rookie year. So I'm optimistic about the offensive line, but that's to me one of the big question marks. I've heard some reports about Chris Evans supplanting Samaje Perine, so he certainly has a shot to do that, and it seems like some of the beat writers believe he will. But it'll be fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. And during the sort of preseason training camp, Joe Mixon probably won't take as many snaps. He won't be working quite as much, so probably get some good exposure to those two to kind of see what's that shaking out like.
Yeah. Yes, keep Joe Mixon healthy because he's on my team and I need him healthy. So,
as one would hope, yeah, he's a good player to roster.
Yes.
Now, over to the second in the division who made the playoffs just by the skin of their teeth, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, we know Pat Freiermuth is locked in as the tight end. They got their starting two with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, and then they grabbed George Pickens, the rookie, to step in ahead of because Juju Smith is gone. But the big question, and then Najee Harris at running back. But the big question is who's winning the quarterback job. So they signed Mitch Trubisky, and they went into a draft with a lot of sort of underrated, maybe not underrated, but exciting prospects at quarterback. Underwhelming is probably the right word. And they still decided to grab Pickett at the 20 spot, which was their first pick in the first round. So it's pretty high draft capital. He's from Pitt. So thoughts on Pickett's chances to overtake Trubisky at the beginning or throughout, or what do you think that's going to look like?
Bold statement coming.
Uh-oh.
Kenny Pickett is the next Dan Marino.
Oh, here it is.
Well, boys, just one stayed in Pittsburgh, then I went to Miami. But I'm really excited about this actually because I've heard some of the other guys on some of the other shows talk about this being something to watch in camp. So this is I think for a quarterback, maybe in the whole league, kind of seeing who's going to get that number one spot. This is going to be it. I think Mitch. It's Trubisky. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his. I think he hasn't gotten a good fair shot. He didn't really have the offensive coordinator in Chicago to really kind of guide him as a good quarterback. And then in Buffalo, obviously, behind Josh Allen, I mean, it's just not going to work out there. So I really think that he's going to be the guy. But you kind of want to root for Kenny Pickett, being from Pitt, being drafted to Pittsburgh. I'm rooting for the guy. But they're probably two super nice dudes, and you just want to cheer for both of them. But I'm fascinated by this, so this is a toss-up. Wouldn't have them on my team though for fantasy, but I'm excited as a fan.
Yeah, definitely only in 2 quarterback or super flex leagues are you looking at either of these guys for fantasy. But it's really more important for the receiving weapons as to who wins the job.
That's it.
historically, rookie quarterbacks don't throw for a lot of yards or touchdowns in their rookie season. I think Herbert was the exception to that. But odds are, if Pickett starts, it's a bit of a hit for the receiving core. I think Mitch Trubisky will get this starting shot. I think they signed him to be the starter. They believe in him. Kenny Pickett, I think he's talented and he's got a shot, but I don't think he's going to take it right away. I think Mitch Trubisky's got 6 to 8 games locked in, and then from there, it'll depend on what happens. If the Steelers are like a 3-5 team, then maybe Pickett comes in because they don't think they can right the ship.
Don't forget it. We all forgot about that horse that won the Kentucky Derby and dead last and came up and won it. Don't forget about Mason Rudolph. He's that dead horse in the back there that could all of a sudden just make his run on the final stretch. So watch out for Mason Rudolph too.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think he'll get the number 1 spot, but he could be that surprise, maybe second even strain if Kenny Pickett doesn't turn out to be what he is. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. That'd be a bold bet to bet on Rudolph. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah. I'd like to know the odds on that.
Yeah, no, not great, Bob. All right, on to the teams who did not make the playoffs in this division, including the Cleveland Browns. So we got some intrigue here. Let's start with the wide receiver 2 position, and then we'll move to the craziness that is their quarterback room. So they let Jarvis Landry go. They traded Odell Beckham. They got no wide receivers. So then they said, okay, well, let's grab us Amari Cooper. And they still have Donovan Peoples-Jones. So we know that Cooper's the one, that's as established, whether or not you like Cooper or if he's an aging asset or whatever, he's going to be the one. But then we get Donovan Peoples-Jones in there who, was okay, but nothing he flashed here and there, more of a downfield guy. And then they grabbed rookie David Bell, who looks like a pretty interesting prospect and certainly steps into a lot of vacated targets in an offense that figures to still be run heavy, but has to pass the ball to some degree. So it is curious to see how that shakes out. What are your thoughts on Donovan Peoples-Jones versus David Bell here?
Yeah, David Bell's coming from Purdue. If I'm not mistaken, they were a pretty throwing team downfield, so he could be a deep threat. But it all just kind of comes down to who's the quarterback, I think, like you're saying, who's going to win the quarterback position in the other in Pittsburgh is going to come down to the wide receivers. I think this one's going to come up to who's going to be, kind of fit the same kind of things, who's going to fit in with the quarterbacks. But this is, I'm not a big fan of this wide receiver core.
Yeah,
not a big fan of it. I mean, aging Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, like you said, flash in the pan, and David Bell, rookie. So, I'm not confident in this offense.
No, I'd definitely be targeting the running backs if I'm targeting anybody here. But, you could take a flyer on David Njoku if you really wanted the tight end. But, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not super pumped. I think David Bell is an interesting guy because he could, if he emerges as a prospect, especially the second half, I think he could soak up some targets. But yeah, inevitably we have to address the quarterback position. So Deshaun Watson's in the middle of his third day just finished his third day of the hearing, and so now it's up to the judge to make a decision. The way the NFL has chosen for this to go is the judge will make a decision on it, and then the NFL and the NFLPA will each have an opportunity to appeal the decision if they don't like it. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what that looks like in terms of the NFL and the suspension that comes down. But he's most likely suspended for half or more of the year. And then you've got Baker Mayfield, who still seems like he's going to get traded. If literally the guy's not there. Right? So I can't see that working out. So then you're left with Jacoby Brissett, who seems like he's going to be starting at least some games this year, but could actually be the starter for the entirety of the season if things shake out that way.
Yeah. If you can get Nick Chubb, if you can get Kareem Hunt on your team, do it. because this is going to be a running team from game one of preseason all the way until they figure out Deshaun Watson, because this is definitely Jacoby Brissett. That's who's your quarterback. Like, Baker's checked out. He checked out a long time ago after the last end of the season. So you're not. I would highly doubt that guy's coming back in that locker room.
No.
So yeah, and what kind of Deshaun Watson? I mean, I don't care what anybody's. You can work out all you want. I'm not a football player, but you just see all the football players talk about this all the time. When they're injured and they try to come back from an injury, it takes a long time. Like, it doesn't just snap of the fingers. You're back to where you once were.
Right.
So Deshaun Watson has got to get over that hill, and to get over that hill, that's going to be a tough one. First the mental, and then the physical. So
yeah, it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Browns are a mess, like you said. Draft the running backs.
Yeah. Bye. I would even go and pick up Dearness Johnson and Jerome Ford, the two guys that aren't going to be, flat, but who knows? I mean, too much, right?
Yeah. Anything could happen with injuries. Then Dearness Johnson had some nice games last year when he was the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Baltimore. So last one in the AFC here, and some real intrigue here. So they're locked in at quarterback with Lamar Jackson. They're locked in at tight end with Mark Andrews, two of my favorite players. Wide receiver, we know that Rashad Bateman will be the guy now that the Hollywood Brown got traded to the Arizona Cardinals. But after him, I mean, it may not matter if we're being honest, but it is curious to see, just in case, who is the two. So we've got Devin Duvernay versus James Prochet versus Tylan Wallace. And until now, you may not have heard of any of those names. Duvernay. So, I mean, that it's definitely more of a somebody's going to win, but does it matter situation. But what are your thoughts here?
Well, I like Gus Edwards. I mean, I think
you're switching the running back on me.
Oh, did we start with wide receivers? I apologize. Yeah,
that's okay. I switched the order.
I got the dog just trying to tear my arm off right now. Rashad Bateman, definitely number one. Devon. I don't know too much about these guys, but but that's when you get a name, right? That's when you make a name for yourself when you're trying to be on the spot. So Lamar Jackson, he's pretty decent quarterback, so he'll find a guy if he's open.
I mean, Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman will be the top two targets, but one of these other receivers could be interesting if either of those guys gets hurt, or if the ball, the offense gets into a shootout where they've got to pass the ball a lot. I mean, typically they are a run-first team, but they did pass the ball. I think it was like second most or something last year, but it was their most in 5 years that they had in passing attempts per game. So we'll see. Not somebody you probably want to roster as of yet, but we'll see how that shakes out in training camp. And if one of them clearly establishes themselves, then they could be an interesting player later in drafts.
Yeah. I'm always interested in their defense.
Oh, yeah. Their defense is going to be good again. I think it'll be better. All right. So we got J.K. Dobbins, presuming he's back healthy, which seems like he will be. He's seemingly going to be ready for week 1, but he's definitely not ready yet. Gus Edwards, who's also coming back from a torn ACL there. Justice Hill, who's also coming back from an injury. And then you got old man Mike Davis that they signed, and the rookie Tyler Batty. So thoughts here on this sort of messy backfield?
Lots of running backs. Well, they had the problem last season, right? I mean, so they're going into this season
3.
Yeah, they're going into the season locked and loaded. So good for them. I mean, I'm hoping J.K. Dobbins has a good season, and I'm hoping Gus will back him up. I think Mike Davis is over the hill. I think, unfortunately, running backs, man, their knees, it's just the toll it must take on those guys' knees. It's just, it's got to be horrible. I remember seeing Jerome Bettis trying to walk upstairs and just taking him 5 minutes to walk up 10 stairs, just the day after a game. So Unfortunately, yeah. So I think it's Gus and JK, as long as they stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Gus Ezra to get the first crack. Justice Hill had his chance, never really did much with it. I'm with you. Mike Davis is sort of one and done here. He's had his time. He's a better backup than anything.
Yeah.
But Tyler Batty, the rookie, does pose a little bit of interest, especially if Gus Edwards and or J.K. Dobbins is slowed down by injury to start the year. Then he could see more carries than maybe we expect. So not somebody I'm going to grab in a draft, but somebody I'm going to throw on my watch list just to see, what does that look like, and somebody that I want to watch in preseason to see can he climb the chart and get ahead of Justice Hill and or Mike Davis, or is he firmly behind one or both of those guys?
I agree.
All right. Anything else in the AFC before we head to the other North?
No.
All right. Well, we start with the ever interesting and disappointing from last year Packers. So we got Rodgers, we got Tunyon at tight end, we got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon at running back. I love both of those guys, and this would be another team that I would, just like the Browns, they buy those guys. But we got no Devontae Adams for the first time in a long time. I'm not sure how many years, maybe 6. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But we've got Alan Lazard, who's left over from, the team that's been there for a couple of years and has kind of showed some moments. We've got Christian Watson, the rookie that they drafted this year. We got Sammy Watkins, who, was good way back when in Buffalo years there, which seems like forever ago. And then played for the Chiefs and, has kind of been around, but more or less hasn't done anything for a while. So what are you thinking here? I put wide receiver core rather than 1, 2, or 3, because I think everybody has a shot to be everything. But what do you think?
Oh, man, yeah. Old man Randall Cobb. I
even throw Cobb on there, or the other rookie, Romeo Doubs. So, we could further complicate things if you want to include them as well.
Yeah. I will say this. Their defense could look like a really good defense. So watch for them. I'm one of those fantasy players that adds and drops defenses each and every week. I think that strategy is the best. That's just me. So look for who Green Bay is playing, but I think that's going to be a big improvement. But besides that, sorry, get a lot off topic. Wide receiver core. Yeah, Alan Lazard is probably like the number 1 wide receiver. Really, Alan Lazard? You got Aaron Rodgers, and this is the core of guys that you have for him. He's good. He's really good. This is really putting the toll on Aaron Rodgers. This is like saying, hey, you're the guy. You're the Peyton Manning. You're the Tom Brady. They made wide receivers out of nobodies. Technically, you can make arguments, but we'll just leave it at that. Can Aaron Rodgers do the same though? Can he make Alan Lazard look like Tim? Jerry Rice? Can you make him look like Tim Brown? Can you make him look like Marvin Harrison? Can you make these guys look amazing? That's going to be the biggest question. I'm not a big fan of their wide receiver core. I would be staying away from it, just like the Baltimore team. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I would highly be targeting the running backs. I don't even mind, and I'm not a big Robert Tunyon fan. His health, he got injured last year. I think he had one lucky year with the big touchdown totals. But, I'd probably rather go after Tunyon than one of these wide receivers because, he's a huge red zone threat and he has chemistry with Rodgers already. Rodgers seems to trust Lazard, which, matters a lot to him. So if you're going to make me choose somebody, I'm going there. I did draft him in the end of a mock draft recently, just as like, what the heck, right? So, he does pose as like an interesting option because if he does hit and he is in fact the one, and even if he has, he could easily have 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And so then you've got a pretty good wide receiver on your hand. But yeah, I'm probably mostly out. I might take a shot on Lazard, but I don't see Christian Watson emerging immediately as a rookie, and I have no faith in Sammy Watkins. So
And Amari Rogers, he's a bit
Amari
of a
Rush, the other one, yeah.
It's only 5'9". I mean,
Yeah.
as a wide receiver, that is not a tall dude. Like,
No.
that's interesting. Because you go back to last season, and Aaron Rodgers came out and talked about how Adams, like they're so well connected, and then this guy leaves the team. It's like, oh geez, like who you left with? So
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, second in the division was the Vikings, and we just wanted to honor them by putting their name up because they have no battles. Everything's set. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison backs him up. Herb Smith Jr., clearly the tight end. Cousins, clearly the quarterback. And then Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne behind them.
Cousins will start the season. Do you think he will finish it?
Yeah. You like Kellen Mond there? You want to throw some hope for those Kellen
No,
Mond
I was this is pretty set and done.
To the Bears. So we know Fields is their guy, at least for now. This particular regime does not seem as keen on him as maybe the last one, but I'm hopeful. I like Fields. I hope he does well. I really do. I think the Bears did a terrible job of surrounding him with support, but we'll see. Cole Kmet, the rookie from last year, looks pretty good at tight end. Still got David Montgomery in the backfield with Khalil Herbert, who proved he was a more than capable backup when Montgomery was out last year. So he's somebody to target in drafts that I really like. And then the wide receivers. So we got Darnell Mooney, who's there from last year, who had a nice year with Allen Robinson essentially injured / not wanting to play / the Bears didn't want him to play. So, throw that out for what it was. And then we got a bunch of people after that. So we got Byron Pringle Jr., Velez Jones Jr., the rookie they drafted, and then Equanimous St. Brown, who was a former Packer that we just talked about. Any thoughts here on the Bears wide receiving core? And kind of like the Browns, does it matter?
Yeah, it's just keep an eye on it in preseason, see what guys kind of will step up because they're going to need guys to step up. Like you said it best, they didn't do the greatest job at surrounding Fields with a better wide receiver core. So I like Jones Jr., but I don't know. Is he going to be a guy that does it for
apparently very fast? So, I mean, he's got that going for him. So,
yeah,
he could be a streaky guy that maybe catches a few long passes. I mean, it's hard to know, right? Like if Fields gets unlocked and levels up, then maybe this turns into a half-decent offense, but I doubt it. And I think it still probably runs through David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. So, probably not guys that we want to target for fantasy, but we'll watch in training camp just to see how that pans out.
For sure.
And I'd say last but not least, but they pretty much were.
They're always last but not least.
Yeah. The Lions. You know what? I like them better than most of the other teams. So, give me some of the Lions players over the Bears or even a lot of the Browns. So we know Jared Goff is back. They didn't draft anybody. They didn't need to. They'll have a high pick next year. The quarterbacks in the draft next year are good. Jared Goff's good enough, right? We saw him with the Rams. Yeah. He's not great, but he's good enough. Tight end, you got TJ Hawkinson, obviously the guy there. Backfield, you got DeAndre Swift with the veteran Jamal Williams there to help out. And then you got this wide receiver core. So you got rookie from last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who absolutely went ham down the stretch. Mm-hmm. Then you got DJ Chark, who they grabbed in free agency. And then you got Jameson Williams, the rookie that they drafted, who is coming off a really late injury, and likely won't be ready for week 1. And they sort of grabbed him knowing that they don't need him for week 1 because they're probably not winning anything significant this year.
Yeah.
So thoughts on that? I know there's a couple other guys on the depth chart like Josh Reynolds and such, but what do you think about this Lions wide receiver core?
Yeah, I like Chark. I thought he did a pretty decent job in Jacksonville. I like the pickup. I think he's a good addition to the team. And then he's getting to play now with a veteran quarterback. He's not going to be playing with a rookie quarterback like he's been playing with in Jacksonville. So I like this. I like him on this team, and I think he can challenge St. Brown for that number 1 spot. But I like this core. Of those 2 wide receivers at least. It's good. Yeah, it's a toss up for the other, for the third wide receiver, and to see if maybe one of the other guy, like you said, Josh Reynolds, can maybe slip on in there. So
yeah, I think they're cautious with Jameson Williams. I think they're gonna hold him out longer than maybe even you need to, just to be sure that he's coming back healthy, because they want him more for the future than they do for this year.
Yeah.
So I don't think we see him at least until later in the season. He's an interesting one, though, to watch, probably not in training camp, but you want to watch just down the stretch there and maybe have him on your watch list in case he does come back and starts to take over, because he was touted as like an absolute stud of a prospect. The rumors were that he would have been a top 10 NFL pick and he would have been the wide receiver 1 in this draft class without that injury. So we saw how high 5, if not 6 of the wide receivers went this year. So thinking that he would have gone ahead of them makes me pretty interested in him. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm with you. Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably the one. Chark, he has a chance. I'm not sure how many targets there will be beyond, Hawkinson and Swift and Amon-Ra, and then you get to Chark. But we'll see. We'll see what this offense can do. Good team, good coaching. So I know we'll see. I'm curious. I'm optimistic, but we'll see if Goff can put something together here.
Yeah. Like you said, I think this is just not a bad choice for quarterback. What's out there for Detroit? I don't think they would have gotten anything in this draft. I don't think. There's a lot of ups. There's a lot of question marks with the quarterbacks that did go in this draft. So. I think, they're going to next season maybe look for that quarterback, but
yeah. So, that's the Lions, right? That's the NFC. So as we said, a little shorter this week. There wasn't as many to cover. Anything to throw out there on any of the folks that we covered, or anything you maybe missed on the depth charts?
No. Not one thing. We covered it all.
Like the PTI at the end, no omissions or errors.
Yep.
So again, you can find us at GibsonFantasyFootball.com, Gibson_FF on Twitter, or all one word, Gibson Fantasy Football on YouTube, Instagram, Podbean, and Spotify. Feel free to come find us, and we appreciate any likes, subscribes, comments, anything you want to do. We always love to interact with folks, and enjoy the training camp battles for these teams. And we'll be back next week with 2 more divisions to run through, which I think next up will be the South divisions next.
It will be the South.
That's right. We're heading south.
Woo!
All right. Well, until then, happy Canada Day. Happy July 4th day, and clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.